Welcome to Sovereign Souls, a special podcast sponsored by the Spirit Release Academy with your hosts, Jono Webster and Andy Porter.
In this episode, we speak to Ruth Maxwell. She's come through the training process and is now working her expertise with her spirit guide, King. Ruth, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very, very well, thank you. Very well.
Yeah, good to have you here, Ruth. Good to
Yeah.
have your experience.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'll try and bring some experience to the table, but we'll see.
So really what we wanted to do, Ruth, we wanted to give people an idea of the process of coming through the system of the Spirit Release Academy, what was important to you, what you found, and certainly where you are now, having done many, many cases and have some really, really great feedback. But we just need to start at the beginning, Ruth. As always, we always start at the beginning. And where was the beginning for you? What was it that made you sort of turn to spirituality in the first instance, as it were, your spiritual work?
Well, for me, I think like a lot of people, it started through Reiki. I'd relocated to Chippenham in Wiltshire, and something about moving and starting life again, kind of brought on a more spiritual awareness for me when I started with Reiki. I'd done my Reiki 1, Reiki 2, Masters, and then I started looking more in depth for spiritual development, and I found yourself and Louise's spiritual development group, which spurred me on even more, and listening to dribs and drabs of what you do, your spirit release work, it was kept playing in my mind. It was ticking away, and yeah, that's basically how I found it, really, and it's just progressed from there. Like, and what a journey it's been so far.
It's an incredible journey,
yeah.
isn't it?
And it's been two years now since the first course. Yeah.
Right. So would you say, from your perspective, you kind of felt that calling to do this type of work? You know, the work that we do from a kind of spirit release therapy perspective isn't really for everyone, and it tends to be quite a fringe area of spirituality. So did you kind of feel drawn to doing that work right from the get-go, or was it an appetite that became of interest to you, I guess, as part of your own spiritual path?
I think it became more of an appetite. It started really, how it started was John had done a clearing on my partner's niece, who suffers with special needs, and just the feedback and the work that he'd done on her and the positive results that had come from it. That she became more verbal. She was able to say more, like, better words, to communicate a little bit better. Within herself, her family noticed a bit. Obviously, it's not going to get rid of the whole, special needs of which she is also suffering with, but there was a lot of a change in her, and from that, it really impacted me, and thinking of like how this can help within schools as well for children in these situations, and I think that just spurred it on more.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, this is where, clearly, as you would know, Ruth, this is where we want this work to go into schools, into many different sectors throughout the world, really, because it does make a very, very positive impact. And this is really, I guess, probably the best thing that we could hear as the Academy, is someone having some work done, having a case done, seeing the positive impact themselves, and then because you work spiritually, because you have that within you, you then have that drive to do what we say, which is hear the calling. Do you hear the calling? And the calling probably very much came to you.
Yes.
And you were on our very first training course, weren't you, in Gaia's house in Wiltshire?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And how was that for you? Did it match expectations? What expectations did you have? Did you have any?
I don't think I had that much. I don't know what to expect. I didn't know what to expect. So I turned up on the first day. I didn't know anybody. I had not met anybody before. So it was very eye-opening, very to listen more in depth of what you do, what we do now, what our guides can do. It was just fascinating. And then it came to the point at the end of the day where you didn't want to go home. It was like you just wanted to carry on and carry on and carry on learning.
Yeah.
And it got to the end of the week, and I was like, oh, is that it? Like, come on, let's go for this now. Let's do this. And you just wanted to spear on and just, yeah.
So before you started that whole course with us, Ruth, I guess just going back slightly, how did you actually feel? Did you feel anxious? Were you a bit concerned? Again, you're not really sure what we're going to talk about and how we're going to do things. And I guess a lot of people, certainly a lot of practitioners that have come on the training, that come in as students, don't really know what's likely to happen. Not that we kind of shroud it in mystery, because we don't generally, but it is this kind of fringe area of this type of work. And I guess as a person like yourself, taking that huge big leap of faith to join something, pay for something and turn up on your own, as you say, it takes a lot of courage to actually do that.
Yeah, I was very nervous, very anxious, quite a nervous person anyway, so I think it was thinking, you have the thought in your head is like, am I going to be good enough for this? Am I going to know everything? But of course, and there people have got so much more experience than you. They're doing, seeing, hearing different things, but at the end of the day, you're all on the same path. You're all starting from the beginning. It doesn't matter how much experience somebody else has, what they're saying, what they're seeing, what they're hearing, what they're feeling. You're all starting on that same path, on that same route. So I think once I finally succumbed to that, and I realised that realisation that it kind of, the nerves slow down a little bit. But when it came to doing the first practice session, obviously at the course, I was very nervous. It was really one of my first times to experience trance also, for my guide to come through. So the feelings of I was up, I was down, I was crying, I was like everything, because I didn't know what to expect. I wanted to run around the room, I wanted to sit down in the corner of the room. So yeah, it was an experience,
like an emotional roller coaster.
It was,
really, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. And then bam, he came through, yeah.
And he really came through.
He did, yeah.
And now he's a fantastic worker with you, a fantastic spiritual partner. And Ruth, you come through and work with us as a medium.
Yes.
And of course, as we've said in the previous episodes, is that we have facilitation roles as well. So where you're talking about other people seeing, hearing, experiencing different things, you're talking about the mediumship levels, aren't you?
Of course, yes. Sorry, I'm talking about that, yeah.
It's okay. So also additionally to that, we have the facilitators.
Mm-hmm.
And the facilitators are not spiritual mediums. In fact, we don't want them to be. Mm-hmm. They're normally coming from the hypnosis, psychological background, sometimes with a more scientific certification behind them. And they facilitate the whole role.
Yeah.
So in our words, they would manage the whole session. What does that mean to you, having somebody who's capable of completely controlling the session? But more importantly than that, I guess they're going to be looking at you, they're going to be watching you, they're going to be communicating with your guide directly, and they're keeping that safe space for you to relax, aren't they? Okay. So from your point of view now you've gone through the training, now you've seen everything that we try and do to make sure this is as safe as possible. How do you feel now as a medium doing this work, knowing that facilitation is to that level?
Safe. I feel safe. Like you said, the facilitator, they are the driving force of the session. They look after you, they keep an eye on you, and they communicate with the guide. I feel when you're working, have a good partnership with the facilitator, your safety is paramount, and if you feel safe with them, then you make a great team.
So you mentioned the safety. Why is that important for you?
Because it's quite easy, to go down, as you say, that rabbit hole. You could facilitators. It's always good to you stick with the questions. You don't ask further questions, because you can go down and find out things that don't need to be found, and they're there to pull you back and keep an eye on you, just to make sure that everything's steady and going the way it should be.
Yeah. And have you experienced it yourself, where the facilitator has needed to come in?
Yes, I have. Yes. In one case, I work quite a lot with Dave. We medium and facilitate together quite a lot. I have been in a situation where the emotional side came in. Something wasn't quite right, and he brought me back out of it straight away, and that was it. Cut off, no more. Like let's stop this, and we'll go back in a few hours later, and then it was fine. So he was there to pull me back straight away. He kept an eye on me. He made sure everything was all right. So yeah, that was the experience that I've had with that.
I think it's a good thing to cover as well, because bear in mind, when we go back in time again, Dr. Terence Palmer was obviously the facilitator when he worked with myself and Jono and other mediums effectively. So he always made it very clear to us, I guess, that he was the kind of boss of the session. He was running the session. He had that kind of role to provide safety for the medium. And certainly from my perspective, working with him over kind of 10 years, when we entered sessions that we knew people had very negative things with them. So we're talking about people with extreme symptoms and problems, people that are schizophrenic, people that are self-harming, people that are on the verge of suicide or have tried to commit suicide a number of times. We're in that very kind of difficult space. And I think as a medium, when we're going into that space to find what's connected that's causing and driving those kind of attributes and problems, you have to have a facilitator that you totally trust, literally kind of with your life to a certain degree, because you know that if these negative things attack you, then you as the medium are at the forefront of that attack. And a spiritual attack isn't the nicest thing to experience. And of course, there are lots of other things that happen around spiritual attacks too when mediums become attacked. So working in this team and having a facilitator that has your back and you can trust is really paramount to the way that we work. And I think from our perspective, mate, don't we really? We've kind of evolved the protocol now, changed it slightly from the way that Dr. Palmer used to do it, such that it's a safer, much safer method to work. And it's certainly much safer for the medium, because in our new version, the spirit guide does the work that the medium used to do. So the medium would go in psychically and scan and clear and try and remove things that were connected. But in our new version, the medium doesn't do that. They just hold the space, hold the communication with the spirit guide, and the spirit guide is the one that's actually doing the work. So it's a much safer method of working that sort of produces more longevity, I think, for the people who are actually practicing.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you said. I think that the new protocol now, the method of it, it's very in and out, I think, and I think that's what it needs to be. Just in case of any, intrusions whilst you're in there doing the work. I think it's just like answer the question, out. It's yeah.
It's the safest place to be, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not directly involved, because we've seen it many times, and I'm sure you have as well, Andy. Is that mediums who sort of do this work, when you're connecting to low frequency and negative energies, it can be very draining if you don't know what you're doing. And even for mediums that do this work, every now and again they kind of bomb out, and it's very regular, and it's because they're too close to the work, they're too close to the energy they're working with, and there's no detachment. And it's the detachment that's really important, because when you finish doing a number of cases per day, you really need to be fresh for your next one. And also when you go home in the evening, you need to be very clear, and you need to be very sovereign in your own energy. So to ensure that, you have to have that distance between the recipient of the work, the energies that they have attached to them, and yourself as a working medium. It's vitally important that is there for you.
I think as well, from our perspective, one of the things that we try and do really with the version of the protocol that we've kind of written and we're certainly running with now, certainly from my perspective and Jono's, is we want to make it, and we have made it, very easy to do. So it's an easy protocol to work through. It's easy for the medium. It's also easy for the facilitator. But I think the key part of the conversation really is most spiritual people that are professional can do this work. That's kind of without saying, really. And I think the step change from our perspective, certainly from a Spirit Release Academy perspective, really, is that we're looking at practitioners that are professional and do this as their work. So when you're doing this every day, you're working hour by hour by hour, day by day by day, and you're, as you said, Jono, in some difficult space energetically with negative things. The key really is to hold and maintain your own spiritual sovereignty. And of course, it's maintaining the spiritual sovereignty of your family, your loved ones, your property, the space that you're in. So lots of people can learn to do this really quickly. And there's lots of exposure, I guess, on the internet and YouTube and other places of how you can do SRT. But if you look at the people that do that don't understand the background conversation, don't have the support of a team and of people around them, they don't do it for very long. And this is what myself and Dr. Palmer found in the past, is that we could teach this in a weekend very quickly. But what would happen is the people that were taught how to do this would have stopped doing it generally within a few months. Some may have lasted 6-7 months. There's a few probably that have lasted longer. But generally, without the backup and support and the actual the right method to do this, it's not something you can do with longevity, because you're in that negative space continually. Would you agree with that, mate?
Yeah, I would. I mean, I think being one of the people that came through the first training with Dr. Palmer and yourself, I think there's a huge step change between what happened then and what we do now. Bearing in mind that was done with Dr. Palmer over a weekend, and we take longer than that just to go through the theory. And it's because really what we expect now is for the facilitators and the mediums to have a full understanding of all the modules we do. And not just perhaps having an understanding, is they have to get it. They have to really get it. And this is why we have assessors in our training as well, to make sure that the students coming through really, really hit that standard. And also, of course, the big thing is that we don't teach so people can do this. We teach so people know what to do if something goes wrong. So it's not just a question of being able to facilitate a live case. It's being able to manage a live case there and then if something goes wrong and you can handle it. And then the other side of that is that there is the emergency groups. So Ruth, how do you see that? Because you see that from a different viewpoint as us, because we set the groups up and we sort of manage and work them. But how do you see them as a student that's come through?
Yeah, Jono, it was really paramount and nice to know as well, and have that feeling to know the support that we got from the minute we started doing the course all the way through now to 2 years in. The emergency groups are obviously for everybody doing the course who's there and have a feel of, they're not feeling too good in themselves, and they can ping and they can ask for a check. No one's left on their own after they've done this training. It's not like you do this training and that's it. You're left out into the wild world. Go and do your thing. It's a community now. You're part of a family. We're all here. Everyone's got each other's backs. You've also got Tara and Natasha as well. They're like amazing. If you need any help, they're always there. And obviously they hold the weekly Tuesday and Wednesday groups that they do. There's a UK one and an America one where they get together each week, where people can practice cases. They can talk about any problems they have, any cases that they need to, query about, or anything that's gone wrong. There's always somebody there for help and for guidance.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the important things that we wanted to put together when we first talked about the kind of architecture of the Spirit Release Academy. John and I wanted to make sure, again, it wasn't just a training academy that we train you and then we send you out into the wild world and we disappear and we continue to train other practitioners. We wanted to make sure that, because we know with this work, there is a spiritual element that is negative, that is kind of continually knocking the door, really. And we kind of know that our practitioners are in the trenches, along with both of us generally. So we wanted to make sure that we did have a continual backup. And to start with, of course, it was just myself and Jono doing that emergency support group. But we knew that as the academy started to grow, we'd have more and more people across the world in different time zones that can actually cover and help each other. And that was part of the agenda, really, and the remit, I think, from our perspective, certainly from Spirit, from Terry, really. He wanted to make sure that we actually create something that covers all time zones, that is working together as a huge, big community, like you said, Ruth, really, and as a team, and that people aren't just trained and left on their own. Whereas if you look at most spiritual courses, you go on a course for a weekend, you get trained, you get given a certificate that generally Doesn't mean very much, really, but you stick it on the wall. But you haven't even done anything at that point. You've just been trained to do something, but you've not actually really done it in anger. And that, I think, is part of the training path that we've created, is that we do have the theory course to start with, which gives people the background and understanding of the terminology, the words, the things that we talk about. And then as we walk through the training, whether it be online or in person, it's a very intensive uplift in your spiritual development. But at the end of it, as I think you said, Ruth, you come out sort of jumping for joy. John and I see this huge change in people's personality.
Massively.
Would you say that was fair to?
Yeah, and that was something that we didn't plan for, really, isn't it? As you said earlier, Ruth, going through the training, you have elation, you have worry, you have anxiety, you have tears. It's just a journey all the way through, and this is what we see. It was very evident in our first course, and we've seen it every single course since, online as well as in person, is that the people that leave the course once they've gone through the training are very different to how they were on day one.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, I agree with that, Johnny.
It's a massive difference. And then by the time they work through their portfolio, going through the case studies, you're looking at a very different facilitator or medium. I mean, some of them, their personalities seem to have changed. They've grown, they've come out of their shell, they're much more confident, and they're able to deal with some pretty horrific cases that we get asked to do sometimes.
I think it's a really good point. I think, again, from my perspective, framing what you've just said, Jono, you look at people as they come in and you have a certain personality, again, a little bit of anxiety, as Ruth kind of said, really. But at the end, that person is a different person because they've been on a spiritual development path of their own and they've worked through their own problems people have to work through and clear themselves. And, of course, their energy's being cleared and cleansed and shadows being worked on. So it's not, I guess it's something we never thought of to start with, really.
No.
It is a kind of spiritual development course as well as an SRT course, really.
And that's for the facilitators as well as the mediums. It's something that was unwritten. Well, maybe the celestial team above knew this was going to be the case.
Yeah.
But it certainly wasn't on our plan. But it is something that is definitely there. It's definitely the unwritten journey of the facilitator or who we call it the practitioner. The unwritten journey of the practitioner coming through to certification. And I think that's one of the things as well is that, when we get to the certification process, the certificates actually mean something.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of work that goes into getting our certification. This is, from day one, we've always said this is not a turn up, smile sweetly and get a certificate. It ain't that course. It really, really ain't that
Certainly
course.
Certainly not.
No, there's a huge journey. And that's why we say every time you see a practitioner who's got the winged sword, which is our logo, you know that they've worked to get it. You know that they've done something special.
Yeah, and I think, Jono, that the fact that you have to work to get it as well, I think it makes you have more of an understanding. It kind of evolves you more, and it changes you more as a person than just turning up, getting a certificate, and then being left to it. Really, it's like you have to having to work for it. Well, for me certainly, it made me change and grow a lot more.
Mm.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing as well, isn't it? And we kind of all realise if we're walking that spiritual path, anything that comes to us that's easy isn't hard fought and therefore doesn't have any value, really. Something you have to put time and attention to. You have to write things down. You have to build and write a portfolio, work with people. You have to connect with people, across different time zones. So even doing those sorts of things, managing a case together with different people pushes your boundaries. And I think this is what I guess we see change, mate, in most people is that we're really pushing them quite hard to evolve and change. And that person that pops out at the other end, whether they be a medium or facilitator, there's a step change, in their personality and in the way that they work.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. And like Jono said, it makes the certificate mean so much more to you as well because you've worked for it. And I remember when you turned up with my certificate for me, it was like probably one of the best feelings ever because I'd worked so hard. We're doing the portfolio, doing the case studies, and working with people I'd never worked with before. For all over the world. I think that was made it even more special to be able to hold that certificate. and the wings.
Maybe we need to send Jono out with certificates on planes
Yeah,
all
we
day,
can do
fly to Argentina,
We can do that.
fly to the US to hand deliver a certificate.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mind paying for it, I'll do it. Yeah, it does make a difference, and that's the thing, isn't it? It is, we talk about the community, we talk about the practitioners coming together as one and working together hand in hand. But the reality is that you don't live near any of our practitioners, do you?
No, I don't. No, Jono, no.
They're all over the UK.
Yeah.
They're all over the world. US, Argentina, Australia, all the way back through Malaysia.
Yeah, Singapore.
Coming back through Europe. We've got Malta. We've got different people in Europe as well doing it.
Yeah.
It literally is Canada, America.
All over.
All over. And you're just working always together, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, always, yeah. And you always find time to as well. You want to. You just have to work out the time zone, really. Yeah.
Yeah, well, modern technology makes it so easy to do that as
it
well,
does.
doesn't
And
it?
with it being remote as well, it's it's a lot better.
Well, I think,
Obviously.
again, that is the kind of step change with this type of work, isn't it? Again, it's not hands-on. So you're not having to go into a room, put your hands on somebody and do something. This is a completely remote configuration, which opens it up to the whole world. And, of course, because it's energy, we're at the forefront, I think, of the way that we're doing things. And that's why it's quite exciting, really, from my perspective, certainly, that it feels like we're kind of stomping new ground for other people to follow. So if you look at most modalities in spirituality, just about all of them involve a room, two people talking, whether it's counselling, hypnosis, if you're doing Reiki, it's all one-to-one, hands-on, very sort of personal connection. But this, we never actually get to see or speak to clients at all.
No. Everything
is being done remotely with spirit guides and working hand in hand with this spiritual team that no one ever gets to see. And I think it's phenomenally exciting, really.
Massively.
And I guess my kind of take on it is, I guess we'll look back in time and think how lucky we were probably to be at the forefront of this type of work
and to be able to do this work. It's humbling. It's when you receive that feedback from the recipient, from the client, just with how they've changed, how their life changed, how they've more uplifted. It's very humbling, to be able to read that.
Would you say that's a standard type of feedback you get?
Not all the time, no. I think sometimes, Jono, that it takes time. It's not a quick fix thing at times. If it's more of a deeper case, I think it takes a few days. It can take up to a week for changes. So people do write back, so they're not feeling any better, or they're feeling a bit worse. But then that comes into
the after effects.
Yeah, the after effects of what you've had attached to you, what you've had wrong with you. It's taking that away. So it's almost like an addiction, isn't it? You're getting rid of an addiction, and obviously you're going to have the trembles, the shakes, the feeling unwell until that subsides.
Yeah, that's it. And although that's not very common, the more common, I think, factor of the after effect is that they do feel clearer.
Yeah.
They do feel like
lighter.
A bag of weight has been taken off their back, and they're free to move their life purpose without that distraction. But the after effects, it can be that somebody has a more unpleasant experience, and that is usually because they are used to an energy that's been with them for some time, and once that energy goes, they then have to reset or rebalance the energy. And get used to feeling of their own energy,
again.
Their own sovereign energy. This is why we call it sovereign souls. This is what it's all about. And the easiest factor that we kind of explain for this is that if you're used to drinking coffee with sugar, you're used to that taste. We know that sugar isn't particularly good for us, so we take the sugar out and the coffee tastes horrible. But once you get used to the coffee without the sugar, it becomes an enjoyable drink again, an enjoyable beverage again.
Yes.
Without the necessity of having to have that sugar in there, which really isn't good for us. So it can take a little bit of time, a little bit of settling to make sure that we are moving forwards without any distractions, without any disruptions on our own energy.
Yeah, Jono, I always love that theory that you give. That's what I want to try and explain, but I didn't want to take it away from you because I know it's your theory you like that you like to
The sugar
give. So
effect.
yeah.
Yeah, bless you. So, in short, doing this work for you, life-changing, good experience.
Life-changing, Jono, yeah.
Yeah.
It's something now that I would never stop doing. Even on my deathbed, I'll still be calling in King and helping others. But it's something now that I could feel that I could never stop doing. And there's always so much more to it as well. And I feel I've got so much more to give and so much more to grow with as well. It's still on that journey, and I'm enjoying the ride.
Well, it's certainly a humble journey that you've got, Ruth, and it's one that very much we enjoy being part of.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I guess just to sort of recap and end things, really. So from my perspective, Ruth, what advice would you give someone that's considering doing this type of training course in terms of from your experience, start to end?
I think, Andy, come into it with an open mindset. There's going to be nerves. Don't worry about other people, the experience they have. Just come in as yourself, come in to learn, come in to evolve, come in to be part of a community and ready to work as a team. And like I said before as well, that you've got so many people around you to help you as well on your journey. And if you ever get stuck, people are only a phone call away, email away. Any questions, there's so many people around to help as well.
Perfect.
Brilliant. Well, Ruth, as you know, this work is about making a difference for people. It's about helping people spiritually without the need for medication.
Absolutely.
And, sitting back and watching you work, particularly with King, is a pleasure from our point of view. And thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for giving us your time today.
Thank you for having me, guys.
We really look forward to seeing where you grow into this.
Yes, thank you very much.
Perfect. Thanks, Ruth.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.
This podcast is sponsored by the Spirit Release Academy. To learn more information about the Academy and their ongoing courses, please visit spiritreleaseacademy.com.